Into the next article on page 16, we have an article that refers to deadly wildfires in Hawaii, which is an island territory of the US. In Hawaii, which is a group of islands in North Pacific, yes, you have a very popular tourist destination called Maui. The entire island of Maui is especially the town of Lahania, you can see in the image, has been completely decimated by this massive wildfire which has ripped across the Hawaiian islands. This is a massive disaster. More than 55 people have already been confirmed dead. 1,000 plus people are missing, and the death count is likely to increase significantly. And the entire tourist town has been completely burned down. Now you can look at the scale of impact. Lahaina looks like a war zone area destroyed by war and conflict. That is kind of impact this wildfire has had, and this is not the first time we are witnessing such mega wildfires. Recently we saw a massive wildfire in southern Europe, and we had mentioned this as well in Mediterranean countries like Spain, Italy, Greece. They all witnessed massive wildfires in the last few weeks itself. So rising wildfires has become a deadly concern. So it has become a major concern, and hence you should look at this topic in detail. Now it's first, let's understand we are exactly this island is located from the map point of view. It could be a relevant see Hawaiian island of US state. It's located in the North Pacific Ocean, where in between Japan and US, roughly this is where the Hawaiian group of island is located. And this Hawaiian, you have the island of Maui where this disaster was occurred. See, Hawaiian island is not new to forest fires. Forest fires are quite common even in California, for example, in Mexico, and in Hawaiian region also, in Mediterranean region in Australia, and during the summer season. It's very common to witness these wildfires, but the problem is the record temperatures being reported, which is believed to be a result of climate change. That is a real concern. See, wildfires have been occurring since the centuries. There is nothing new to the wildfires. Many of the wildfires are natural. They are triggered by natural causes. But the real concern is about now how anthropogenic factors have contributed to it, how man-made factors might have aggravated wildfires. Now if you look at the natural causes of wildfires, you have the lightning. Lightning is a trigger. If there is enough dry biomass available, let us say a dried tree or grass, if it is available under the right temperature and humidity condition, lightning can easily trigger fire, which could further spread and consume thousands of forest. Then massive heat wave condition. If heat waves persistently remain for a few days, the high temperature, low humidity level could easily trigger the fire in the dry biomass that is available in the forest area. That even volcanoes that spew out hot lava, they can set fire onto the forest. But and the entry of invasive alien species, that is non-native species, they can destroy the ecosystem, reduce the inherent resilience of an ecosystem, and it could make it vulnerable to impact of forest fire. It is clear now native species or alien species which are invasive, they don't directly contribute to forest fires, they don't directly set fire, but since they taken over the ecosystem, they are dominating over the native species of plants and animals, they would have weakened the ecosystem and its natural resilience, and that makes the ecosystem vulnerable to forest fire. So all these are for natural factors. So along with these natural factors, there are many anthropogenic causes, man-made factors which have contributed to scale and identity of this wildfires. We have man-made factors such as shifting cultivation or agriculture. You would have heard about zoom cultivation or slash and burn cultivation, where farmers can clear the agricultural land by setting fire to the forest area, and they shifting the farming land, so that deliberate the setting of fire could easily spread to the forest, causing a massive wildfire. Then burning down the forest for industrial purposes or for collecting the forest produce. The tribal communities are known to collect forest produce, and sometimes they do set fire to the forest. Large industries which have own license for industrial expansion, right, for extraction of forest resources, they might start deliberate fires. Then farmers also carry out stubble burning, and they set fire to the crop stubbles, which could easily spread out and affects the nearby forest. So in general, deforestation contributes to wildfires, and it's a major anthropogenic cause. Then you also have poachers, because they often sets fires to the scarce animals which they are targeting, and these fires can easily spread in uncontrollable manner, and even exploitative tourism. Many times wildfires are triggered, but by negligent tourists who have carelessly disposed cigarette which has not been stopped, or those who have forgotten to extinguish a campfire that have they had put during their trip, during their vacation, right? So such a irresponsible tourist locals who are not responsible about the fire, they are setting this could go uncontrollably and spread into the forest and consume the entire thousands of hectares of forest. So this remains a major concern around the world. So especially global warming and climate change is aggravated the risks and the threat. Now if you look at the map, it's a global fire map brought about by NASA through the satellite data. We can see, if you see that, we can estimate and track real time the fires that occur around the world, particularly the tropical subtropical belt. Look at the vulnerability of the regions of our wildfires. All red dots you can see in the map, they indicate a active wildfires, right? Look at the vulnerability of southern European part of the Africa, part of US and South America, including the vulnerability of the Amazon. Recently, in Amazonian forest, there were massive wildfires which was triggered by the heat wave, and also because of the industrial contractors who deliberately set fire to the forest in the Amazon, particularly in Brazil, in southern Europe, Spain, Italy, Greece, Portugal. They have all seen deadly forest fires which has affected the tourists and the locals. Then across Southeastern Asia and South Asia, from India to Nepal and to Myanmar to Indonesia, right? There are massive forest fires during the summer season. Even in Australia, just a few years back, a couple of years ago, Australia witnessed a deadly forest fires which caused massive devastation to the Australia's biodiversity, right? So it's very important to focus on the disasters, because they are not just a man-made disaster, not just natural disaster. In fact, it's a combination of the two. There are few natural factors like high temperature during the summer season, AC availability of dry biomass, leaves and grass which can easily catch fire, right? Lightning is a major contributor, so there are natural factors as well, but man-made factors have aggravated the risk. Anthropogenic causes including global warming has directly increased the risk, and that's the one reason why we are witnessing the more frequent forest fires around the world. India is also a big victim. India has seen many deadly forest fires. According to the estimate, nearly 21.9% of the forest cover is vulnerable to the forest fires. According to the data brought out by the Forest Survey of India, more than 21% of India's forest cover is vulnerable to forest fire. And in India, the region which witnesses the most number of forest fires in Northeast India, please remember this, Northeast India witnesses the maximum number of forest fires, followed by Central India and part of Himalayan belt and part of Western and Eastern Ghats. These are hazardous prone areas in India. These are the regions which are now most affected by wildfires, and every year during the summer season. What can we do from disaster management perspective? How can we approach wildfires and forest fires? And the first step in disaster management is to focus on implementing disaster management. Is that you prioritize the pre-disaster planning and preparedness, because many of the disaster can be prevented, or at least you can mitigate the impact of these forest fires and wildfires with adequate planning and preparedness. Next, during disaster you provide immediate relief, and you try to contain these wildfires. You try to extinguish them as soon as possible with right methods and provide relief to the affected population. And post disaster you focus on recovery. You focus on rehabilitation of the affected people and reconstruct the damage and that has been caused, because these deadly forest fires can cause loss of life, as you see in the recent incidents in Maui. It can cause loss of property and infrastructure in Hawaii, for example. In Maui Island, power and communication lines have been completely wiped out by the forest fire. Is that clear? It can destroy the public infrastructure. 1,000 plus houses have been burned, right? So private property can also destroyed. It poses a huge threat to our environment, right? All animals, birds, and all species, even flora, right? They all face the threat they could wiped out, causing tremendous biodiversity loss. So the best way to deal with the wildfire is to first assess the risk, analyze and risk in every region, understand the hazard, understand the vulnerability, and create a hazard map, and accordingly implement early warning system. And it is possible to give prior warning of heat wave and conditions. Today satellites can track the wildfires in real time and by monitoring the wind conditions, and you can predict in which direction the fire is going to spread, and accordingly alert can be given. Timely alerts can be given for the evacuating the people. See, one reason why the Maui wildfire becomes so deadly is the high wind flow and in the North Pacific. In fact, there was a hurricane thereby, which created a pressure gradient that pushed a very strong wind towards the Maui Island. And as a result, the wind easily carried the fire, right? Fire grows very quickly, and when there is a massive wind, even before you realize, within the minutes the fire can travel kilometers together. The embers, right, the burning embers, they can be carried, blown into the air, and that could be dispersed into urban locations and cities. That is how the houses and buildings can easily catch fire within a minutes, with, within a within a minutes without any advanced notice. So it is important to keep track of the wind currents and track heat wave conditions and track the wildfires real time using the satellite data. Then implement the traditional measures like creating a forest fire line. This is a traditional way of targeting and containing the forest fires. Generally in India, what the forest departments do is that they work with the local communities, tribal communities, and volunteers. They try to clear all the dry biomass before the summer season. They even set a deliberate controlled fire to remove the dry biomass. This is a traditional technique of containing the large fires which are uncontrollable before the summer starts. A official can work with the volunteers and local communities to clear all the grasses and leaves and dry biomass which is collected so easily. Essentially, you are removing the fuel as much as possible. Then you set deliberate controlled fires to limit the further the spread. You clear out the dry biomass and prevent the large scale forest fires from occurring. And also, the forest can be fragmented into fire lines. In a forested area, patches of land can be cleared of vegetation so that fire in one segment will not spread into the another sector of the forest, and they are traditional methods, but this requires awareness generation, and that government have to focus on zoning land use planning and ensure that habitation cities don't come very close to forest fire zones. Forest fire prone zones have to be clearly marked, and we have to restrict the human settlement and human activities, protect your natural buffers, especially water bodies like lake, river, wetland, and they will naturally moderate the spread of a forest fire, strengthening the firefighting capability, including the use of helicopters and drones, and to drop water and fire retardants from above to quickly contain the spreading forest fire. And of course, in long run, focus on tackling climate change and global warming, and these are the basic measures that need to be taken to tackle such deadly wildfires which cause a huge impact, and we are seeing more and more such incidents happening in India, around the world. Yeah. In India as well, Uttarakhand, then Nilgiris ranges, northeastern India, and in central forest of India, forest fires are very very common, right? So to prevent these disasters, we have to implement these disaster management measures. Now let us head towards the prelims articles and focus on few smaller topics which is more relevant for prelims exam.